Todd, thank you very much for joining us here today. You were appointed the head of Ericsson South and East Africa back in May 2020. So a very interesting and sort of dynamic market. Did you want to start off just by giving us an overview of what's kind of happening in the region at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I was appointed after spending 7.5 years in Malaysia. So I was looking after Southeast Asia. And, when the opportunity came to come to a continent that's become home for more than 1 billion people, that's done some amazing innovations like what you see in Kenya with M-Pesa, and, has grown incredibly, but really is on the cusp of, you could say, from a data perspective, actual growth. If we look at the June 2020 edition of the mobility report that Ericsson produces, the LTE penetration was 11%, which was almost a doubling from previously, but that was from 7%, right? So it's from a small number, but the data is going to grow like crazy. And while mobile broadband has become important, if we include 3G, what's going to happen with LTE is we're at 11% now, and I'm interested to see what the November report will say, but it will be at least 30% by 2025, and that is both going to be driven by the fact that so much innovation can be unleashed through data, but also it's because there'll be a younger population because Africa's young. And we're going to see even lower price smartphones, smart devices, tablets, and even 4G feature phones like we've seen in some other parts of the world. So that will really drive the uptake, and that's going to create an economic dynamic that has not existed before in Africa. So for me, super exciting. I'm really happy to be here.
You mentioned there obviously the LTE penetration levels are increasing quickly. What sort of opportunities are there for you in bringing sort of connectivity to remote communities in Africa? A lot of people living outside of the reach of traditional mobile networks.
Yeah, no, that's both a big challenge. If it had been so easy, we would have already done it, right? And the importance of the opportunity has been further highlighted by what's happened with COVID. Right? Because what we saw is a lot of people left the cities, because you can see that from the traffic. The traffic has moved much more to suburban and rural because people don't leave home anymore, right? And that really that drives the need. I think for Africa, that digital divide between the truly rural and the urban is critical for inclusion, but also for the GDP growth. So the first thing is to find affordable ways to build broadband. That we can do. How do we do that? We work together, private, public, with governments. We need to create a shared vision on how we can achieve the economic and societal benefits of broadband. Then, on top of that, even you build the coverage, you've got to get the devices right. So if you can imagine a rural community, we need to have devices at the right price points. That's why 4G is going to be a very important technology for Africa, because the price points for the chipsets have come way down. But if you look at the evolution of 4G and what's happened with the price points, the 5G ones are going even faster. So even if it sounds outlandish to talk about 5G for rural Africa, actually it may be one of the ways to leapfrog a little bit and adopt the newer technology, because it can come at a lower cost and provide what the society needs and what the economy needs. So yeah,
that's an interesting point. So I guess that the early deployers, people in Korea and here in the the UAE and the wider Middle East have sort of broken the back of 5G in some ways to roll it out, and then as costs come down, rollouts can be much quicker in markets like East and Southern Africa.
It's shocking actually, because 4G was the fastest deployed technology or adopted technology in the history of mankind, and look at the innovations created in the world. If you look at what you can do in your market, right, with your mobile phone, 5G is going faster. So think about what 4G and then 5G could mean for Africa, in terms of unleashing the creativity and the innovation. So it's very exciting actually. So that's one of the reasons I'm happy to have come here.
Great. That brings us nicely on to our next question, which is obviously 4G and ultimately 5G is so much more than just quicker download speeds. It enables a whole sort of raft of different services that you'd be able to provide to consumers. Africa is a world leader in terms of digitalisation, particularly in the mobile financial service realm. How big a role do you think those services will play in the development of the region?
Well, it's massive, right? Because, for if you look globally, I mean, for every bank account, I think you have 5 mobile broadband connections or something, right? So if you really want to include the world, this is the way. I mean, mobile broadband has reached almost everyone. So it's going to be extremely important for Africa, for sure. The second thing, though, is, and of course, to make that happen, you have to make sure you have the connectivity, right? So it's like getting the plumbing there, and so I mean, that's a fundamental role we have, and then obviously enabling mobile money. Then, interesting, we look at the numbers, so the adoption's already been fast for mobile money, but with our favorite virus, what's happened there? I mean, it has caused an increasing demand for cashless transactions and touchless transactions, right? So we see going beyond use a card, using your mobile phone for these type of transactions. So the transactions have doubled since the virus really kicked in, right? So I think that's critical for the development of the economy. Then, of course, there's a lot of work we have to do. So we have to work together, in our case, with service providers, also the regulatory, because we have to promote the cashless society. And on top of really bringing the inclusion perspective and helping drive the economy, of course, it also creates a level of transparency, right, in the economy, which I think is very important for the economic development in Africa. Great,
and we've actually I've just finished moderating a webinar on enabling a cashless society here in the Middle East. So it's a hot topic here as well. One of the things that came out of that discussion was that's enabling the cashless society is kind of an opportunity for companies like Ericsson to work more closely with your traditional sort of telco operators in the region. That's true here. I'm sure that's true in your region as well.
Absolutely, because if you think of if I just give one example, the type of value a mobile operator can provide. I mean, if you can do on your mobile phone, I mean, you no longer have to assume the security risks that are associated with cash. I mean, you don't have to walk into a mall with a bag with your cash that maybe you've gotten from 1 month of doing farming out in the village and go through security with all this cash, right? I mean, you just have it. So I think that, and that's one part. The other part is, I mean, how you store credit card information. I mean, we can go beyond that. So you don't even have to worry about your credit card being stolen or hacked, right? So because of security, if we talk about 3GPP technology, what the mobile operators provide, that security is very good. So I think it's a great opportunity to both for our customers to add even more value to society, but of course create business opportunities for them, right? So I think, and it will make their services more sticky. So I agree, it's a great opportunity.
Great. I mean, this leads us on to the pandemic in general. This is quite a wide and broad question, but if you can sort of just distill it down a little bit, what do you think the legacy of the pandemic affected Southern and Eastern Africa?
Gosh, I'm not Bill Gates good at predicting the future, maybe, but I think, if I give just a general reflection, I mean, work is never going to be the same, and neither is school. Yeah, I think the school part has been really difficult. You think about from a youth perspective. I mean, going through this period has probably caused a disruption. At the same time, we have trained every continent's youth in using digital technologies the best they can and develop more independence. So I think, for all the disruption that's come with the pandemic, I think there's going to be a lot of benefit that's come that we don't realize. And I'll give you a few examples. In many countries, we might still have very strong legal systems with lots of rules and maybe in some cases bureaucracy. But the problem is now, if you want to sign a contract in triplicate, you cannot do, right? So many things have moved to digital online, which has actually sped up the way we interact with our customers. It sped up the way you can interact with the government. The way Kenya, I mean, which is where I live, I mean, the way they've adopted digital technologies to help track COVID, to help enter the country is amazing. So it's a forced digitalization that maybe wasn't planned. That'll have great benefits, I think, for the economy. Then it's also highlighted some weaknesses in how we've built networks. Right, because we have focused, of course, on where the business is. I mean, that's normal to do. So, I mean, you build excess capacity in cities, but people work from home now. Yeah. So it means that we have to really shift capacities out to the village and to the suburban areas, and that's something we have done quite well in many countries. But that's going to become the new normal, because I don't think you're going to be in the office 5 days a week anymore.
Right.
So the way we think about building mobile networks will be different, I believe. And then I think the final thing, and I'm sure you can make a million points, but if there was ever a doubt that mobile connectivity and mobile broadband was not the human right, I think COVID has proven that. Because how are children going to go to school? And these are one of the reasons why we've joined this Giga initiative, where we're working together with ITU and UNICEF to really map and make sure ultimately every child in the world has this type of broadband connectivity. So I think that the COVID has really highlighted this value, and it's not just what Ericsson does, but of course our customers and what governments have to enable. So I think those are some of the changes we'll see going forward.
I was talking to somebody a couple of weeks ago, and they work in the cybersecurity sector, and they were saying that one of their main jobs at the minute is dealing with the fact that when this whole work from home situation materialized almost overnight, people had to put in place very, very quickly, short-term solutions to see them through. And what they were looking at was, they were saying that sort of then the next 6 months or so of their work is helping companies make those short-term measures that they put in place work in the long term. Is that something that you're seeing as well?
Absolutely. When I look back on into full lockdown, I would say very well managed by the government, but the disruption it brought to our work and getting agreement with government stakeholders, everyone, that telco was a critical service, then understanding, and I think for us, making the whole business digital. So for example, if you're going to build a site in a village where you don't have capacity today, how do you do it? But instead of doing lots of paperwork, how do you accept a site remotely? How do you tune a site? How do you apply machine learning? It's really accelerated a lot of these technologies that are advanced, require really strong programming skills, leveraging a lot of the compute power that exists that we can harness even more. So it's really been a change. So, and that's the longer term impact. In the short term, it's just a stress and a struggle, right? Because you're going through a transformation that you always wanted to do, but you were maybe not moving as fast as needed. Mm-hmm. And that's what we've seen for our business as well. I mean, a lot has changed in how we work, and I think for the better.
Let's finish up just by coming back to something that we touched on earlier in the interview, which was 5G. So just tell me a little bit about 5G in the region. Is it too early to start talking about at-scale deployments?
No, it's not, because we've seen a few early cases. I mean, in Madagascar with Telma, I think we've seen MTN do some things, right? And frankly, 5G is many things, and I mean, in some cases we're still on the hype curve. In other cases, I mean, it's a big reality in many countries and many continents. Fundamentally, we need lots of data, and one of the enablers for getting good speeds in data is spectrum. And we're running out of spectrum in the lower bands, so we need mid and high band spectrum. But I mean, that's where 5G comes in. So I really do think 5G and cloud technologies are ways for Africa to accelerate the trajectory. I don't know if leapfrog's the right way, but ensure that Africa and Africans are part of the global economy. So I think we will see. Is it going to be at mass? No. You're going to see it, I think, at the beginning as a complement to 4G, but it's definitely coming. And anything you do now, I mean, for example, we announced a breakthrough contract to do the modernization of the Airtel network in Kenya. Every single equipment we deploy is 5G ready. Mm-hmm. I mean, anything you would deploy now, you would want to do that because it's going to come faster than we think. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see in a few years, but that's how I see what's going to happen.
And I imagine particularly a lot of the markets that you deal with are going to take their first steps towards 5G with spectrum sharing technology?
Absolutely. And I think that's what would make most sense at the beginning, right? Because still, from a device perspective, most people will have 4G devices, but you will have high-end customers. Unavoidably, something like the iPhone 12 comes to Dar es Salaam. I mean, your high-end customers are going to buy the iPhone 12. Well, they're going to want 5G. So then I think you're going to see very quickly that our customers find they have a business case, right? So this will happen. Of course, it will happen in the cities first, but faster than we think. I'm quite confident.
Great. All right, Todd. I think that pretty much wraps up everything that I've got. Was there anything you wanted to add before we say goodbye?
No, I just really to thank you for having me on the show, and great to have the discussion, and looking forward to discuss further what we can do for the development for broadband in Africa. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Todd.